Buongiorno a tutti e a tutte e benvenuti a questa ultima giornata della prima fase di Exponi le tue idee, l'iniziativa che vede alcuni gruppi di studenti e di studentesse della nostra università confrontarsi su alcuni temi di rilevanza globale. Questo è un mio brevissimo saluto introduttivo, semplicemente per fare il miglior in bocca al lupo a tutti i ragazzi e le ragazze che si sfideranno nei dibattiti di oggi, e poi per portare i dovuti ringraziamenti a tutte le persone, a tutte le realtà che hanno reso possibile questa iniziativa, e quindi in particolare WeWorld Onlus, che ha organizzato a livello nazionale e internazionale l'iniziativa, e poi i ragazzi e le ragazze che con grande entusiasmo hanno aderito alla nostra iniziativa, e poi ancora lo staff del Centro di Ateneo per la Solidarietà Internazionale, che ha curato l'organizzazione dell'iniziativa, in particolare Giovanni Brambilla, Laura Bossini e Antonella Cassano, la direzione comunicazione dell'Università Cattolica, che ha curato la regia e sta curando la regia dell'evento e tutti gli aspetti di comunicazione e diffusione, e poi un grazie particolare alla persona che più di tutti ha curato fin dall'inizio l'organizzazione di questa iniziativa, e cioè la professoressa Claudia Rotondi, componente del direttivo del Centro di Ateneo per la Solidarietà Internazionale, che è stata la promotrice ed è l'anima di questa iniziativa. Detto questo, ultime persone da ringraziare, sicuramente altre due studentesse che curano l'organizzazione, che moderano gli incontri, Giulia De Feudis, che è stata impegnata nella giornata di ieri, e Irene Pelucchi, che modererà oggi il dibattito. E proprio Irene, passo adesso la parola per l'apertura della competizione odierna. Buon ascolto a tutti.
Thank you, Professor Caselli. Good afternoon to all those who are watching this debate live on social platforms of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. My name is Irene Pellucchi, and today I am the moderator for this last day of challenges between the teams formed by the students of our university. I would like to thank Professor Caselli for his introduction, and I also want to thank the three members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debates. It's a pleasure to introduce to the teams and to the audience Professor Monica Spatti. Professor Monica Spatti, she is a professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. She is here as the representative also for the other two members of the jury who are here following the debate in the backstage. Professor Roberto Zoboli, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences, and Professor Marco Caselli, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Today we have the last three debates of the second stage. The two finalists will challenge each other in January, and the winner will join the regional championship with the teams of other Italian universities. I'm going to briefly sum up the schedule of the last day of the second stage of the tournament. Then we will start with the first debate. So for the first debate, we will see the team Pro 1987 against the Con team Naturalmente. For the second debate, we will see the team Pro Exponiamo against 1987, and for the last debate of the day, we will see the Pro team As We Speak against the Con team 1987. So now we can start with the first debate of the day. The topic is intensive agriculture and extensive agriculture. So I welcome the Pro team, the 1987, and on the other side, the Con team Naturalmente. The captain will open the debate with an introduction, and starting always with the team Pro. Then the first and the second speaker will take part into the discussion. So teams, you know the rules. Good luck to all, and may the best team win. I want to remind the topic of this first challenge is extensive agriculture and intensive agriculture. So, captain of the Pro team,
Thank you.
1987, if you are ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, my team would like to expose the reason why we believe intensive agriculture is preferable to an extensive one. We certainly know that intensive agriculture can have both pros and cons, like everything in this world, but we want to show you how the benefits can overcome all the negative sides. First of all, we think that it's important to underline the main purpose of agriculture. Since the dawn of time, humans cultivate the land to get food. But nowadays, population grows more than ever, and according to Food and Agriculture Organization projections, the number of people on this planet will be around 9 billion in 2050. This means that we will need a lot of supplies and food to guarantee the respect of one of the basic necessities of every human being, eating. Also, hand hunger is always one of the top target in the international development policy, such as the Millennium Development Goals with the goal number 1 and Sustainable Development Goals with the goal number 2. In this sense, agriculture is a precious ally in the global fight against hunger because not only can guarantee an improved production of food, but also this food can arrive on the market at affordable prices, thus being available for the poorest and the hungriest share of population. Another key point in our opinion is the more and more increasing needs of more green and sustainable fuels to avoid the use of fossil fuels. But in order to have more biofuels, it's very important to intensify the agricultural production because we don't want to face a difficult choice between food and fuel. We want them both. And to reach this goal, the intensification of agriculture is very much needed. At the end, we would like to underline the importance of a good and efficient national agricultural production in order to avoid the situation with too much import of agricultural goods. Even if a country has a little arable land, with the correct intensification, it can provide for its own needs. Now, my colleagues will offer you some interesting examples about the topics presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now the captain of the CON team, 3 minutes for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our team, naturalmente, is against intensive agriculture and any kind of not natural form of providing food. It is from Mother Earth that everything comes, and that's why we must respect and protect her. It's necessary and important at all to look at how we treat our ecosystem in order to provide our needs. Our speakers are going to open very interesting scenarios to talk about this problem. Starting from showing the genuine cycle of nature, we arrive to talk about the impact of intensive agriculture on the quality of products, and that directly leads to malnutrition and health problems for a great slice of population. Moreover, there are social consequences of intensive agriculture regarding the fact that the more machines are used to work, the less employees benefit from a work, and the less the product is natural and safe. The risk of going through an economic scale is very high. We are very close to the creation of brands that optimize the prices, the costs, in order to be more productive. But it's very probable that workers are put in not safe conditions, and as philosopher Marx said us a long time ago, they are alienated. The brand value is absolutely correlated to the value of its products. Now every producer has to act following a good policy and method, also remembering the fact that the product cycle has to be environmentally sustainable. What we are mainly talking about is giving nature the right time to feed us in a proper and safe way. It is okay to help the heart, but it doesn't mean to force her. Why it is now time so important to have everything instantaneously? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now the first speaker of the Pro team. 3 minutes for you, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor, and thanks to our captain for expressing our position clearly. So the points by the other team were interesting, but we don't really agree, and we would like to explain why. So our team would like now to support, yes, an intensive agriculture, but from a different perspective. We will explain what for us intensive agriculture is not. It is not a method of production that implies a huge use of pesticides, fertilizers that ruins fields and pollutes the environment. We will support, indeed, a sustainable intensification. We know that the word intensification in agriculture for most of people means something negative. Intensification is considered desirable, for example, in the industrial sector. This is not for agriculture, seen as the sector that must be as natural as possible. We would like now to clarify what intensification means for us. It means adding external inputs in order to increase the outputs. And for us, these external inputs should be knowledge and technology that will bring innovation into the production process. So intensifying in a sustainable way means developing a productive agriculture and at the same time reaching high environmental standards. This implies being able to use resources efficiently, so to produce more with less. But let us give some examples. In Israel, for example, advanced irrigation technologies allowed to maintain a high level of production in agriculture, even in a dry region like this. So this technology allows to recycle water thanks to purification process and to use that water in drip irrigation system. So drop after drop of water, it allows to overcome water scarcity and to increase productivity in a sustainable way. We can also talk about special seeds, which are more productive, more resistant to climate change. And they need less water, less fertilizers, and less pesticides. So this is the kind of production we need to focus on for our common future, as our motto says. So thank you, and I leave the floor to the other speakers.
Thank you very much. The first speaker of the CON team.
Thank you.
3 minutes for you, please.
Yes. So economy, society, and environment are three dimensions which are deeply involved in the agricultural process, and a balance between them is urgent to satisfy the needs of an ever-growing population. The food demand grows and food prices have to remain low. Farmlands are reduced as well as acreage. Alternative agricultural models are required in order to avoid the non-renewable model of intensive agriculture, which is based on a series of techniques that are detrimental not only for the soil and for the environment, but also for nature and for humans. It is possible to guarantee a balance between the three dimensions and to keep the productivity at a high level, paying particular attention to some crucial points. First of all, respect of nature and of its rhythm. Organic crops are variants of extensive agriculture whose purpose is to dispense with all types of contaminants and machinery, betting on products as natural as possible, which instead of volume offer food quality to the market. As a result of this approach, the quality of products is indeed higher than those from the intensive model. The latter, making use of chemical substances and of hormones for what concerns animals, risks to cause health problems and to create intolerances to human beings. A very known example, indeed, is given by the United States, where livestock is overcrowded and they receive improper feeding, which turns to be harmful also to those who feed on these animals. In 2006, a FAO report thus called attention not only to the environmental damage they cause, but also to the lack of efficiency of livestock systems, especially extensive systems in developing countries, whose level of food production remains low. On the contrary, in the extensive agriculture, animal welfare is generally improved because animals are not kept in stifling conditions. Intensive agriculture can thus have serious repercussions on our health due to OGMs, antibiotics, and hormones. Secondly, the extensive model would be a good solution also for the reclamation of arid lands, because it needs less rainfall than intensive farming, so it would be appropriate for the most continents as well as for the desert regions where water for cropping is not available. So, to conclude, agroecology could play a vital role in these circumstances. This kind of farming focuses on food production that makes the best use of nature goods and services while not damaging the resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we can give a little break to the teams. So participants, if you need, you can coordinate each other and you can rethink your strategy if this is the case. In this debate, we have seen two teams debating on a particular theme, extensive and intensive agriculture. This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of European Commission. And for this particular online edition, the themes are linked to Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals, that were adopted by all United Nations members in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure all the people enjoy peace and prosperity in 2030. Everyone is needed to reach these ambitious targets. The creativity, knowledge, know-how, technology, and financial resources from all of society is necessary to achieve these particular SDGs in every kind of context. So now I can give the speaker for the second speaker of the pro team and the con team, so we can come back to the debate. The break is over, and we can restart with the second speaker of the pro team. Thank you. 3 minutes for you.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you to my captain and my first speaker for how clearly they explain our arguments today. But let's come to what our opponents said. First of all, we agree with our opponents. Yes, intensive agriculture has its problems, we know that. And we're not saying that they should be overlooked. But what we cannot also deny is that intensive agriculture is also the main, if not the only, solution for world hunger, the biofuel issue, and for all the adversities that my team's previous speakers also provided. We all know the benefits brought by the Green Revolution between the 40s and the 70s. More resistant genetically modified crops, fertilizer, pesticides, innovative machines, and new irrigation methods. This approach allowed to increase productivity, meet the growing food demand, reduce the risk of starvation and hunger, and create a variation of crops able to adapt to barren lands. Thanks to these new methods, like expectancy growth, child mortality decrease, as well as malnutrition. The Asian continent is a perfect example of how these improvements change billions of lives. And even today, it shows how needed intensive agriculture actually is. China has 18% of the world population, with 7% of the world's arable lands. This badly forces China to an importation profit economy. Let's just think about the soybean imported from the US and all the problems created by Trump's restrictions. Too many countries depend on international trade to ensure the food security. As history tells us, food security often equals national security. Intensive agriculture is the only chance to stabilize our future. This is why we should stop fighting it, and instead we should all work together, as my colleague already explained, in making it more sustainable. We must combine intensive and productive agriculture with high standards of environmental performance of the agricultural practice itself. Our opponents brought as a solution return to pre-industrial extensive agriculture. but this will mean tranquility and sustainability for rich countries, those who will have the money and the power to buy land and import crops, while poorer countries will be devastated by famine and starvation. We don't have to decide between starvation and environment devastation, between famine and health. Both choices are equally dreadful, and we can't allow ourselves to come to just to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second speaker of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Okay. According with my team, the most updated studies about intensive agriculture show how this type of territorial activities could be dangerous for the healthiness of the environment and consequently for the whole community. And first of all, the Italian Association of Agriculture and Science Societies highlight that the real critical issues are the enormous quantity of phytosanitarians and fertilizers that produce, for example, a creation of acid rains, the pollution of the ground and contamination of the water that represent the only one resource for survival in some countries, such as the sub-Saharan Africans and some Asian states. And the contrary to popular belief, a recent study of the Center of Cooperation, Agricultural Research for Development showed that the essential livestock system have less environmental impact than intensive system. This result is a majority of importance of developing countries in which extensive systems are common. And the result of another theory of Marx has already warned us about these potential threats of the social risk concerned with intensive agriculture, show how the capital could be creating non-alienation of employees and losing of jobs. We all know that international industries use the support of the efficiency of our entrepreneurs, especially when we are referring to intensive agriculture, when the target is to create more quantity of agricultural products. The intensive agriculture, on the other side, could be the key of activity of the present and future programs, in fact concerned with the fast-growing population, especially in the poorest countries. The extensive agriculture can satisfy everybody's necessity, for example, the extreme necessity of food in a developing state, where there is the highest poverty and the level of essential goods are not exist. With this our priority, such as democratic societies, but above all for the human being, is to consider first of all the people, and not falsely the economic speculative interest. We are do it as soon as possible to avoid the tendency of obtaining everything at once, immediately, and to respect the time that it takes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have just listened to the speakers of each team. They have argued very well. They have expressed very important points for these issues, even if it's not so easy. But both teams have made very interesting argumentation and comments. Exponi le tue idee is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as human rights, sustainability, development, environmental protection, migration, and inclusion. Exponi is an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students and professors. Two teams are challenging in a debate in which captains and speakers argue and defend their thesis related to a specific global theme. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. Students must prove and demonstrate their ability and their specific skills. So now the break is over, and we can come back to one of the last part of this first debate. Now we can start with the free debate. So before you speak, guys, please introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm the captain of Naturalmente. We think that there are, as you said, that there are benefits with the intensive agriculture. We think there are no benefits in destroying Earth. And also, you said that we have to face the growth of population and the demand of food. But actually, it's not natural the way we are doing it. The intensive and extensive agriculture can't be together because there is a huge difference between those two. And also, you were talking about choosing between hungriness and destroying Earth. Well, actually, Earth is already destroyed because of intensive agriculture, and that's why many people suffer hungriness. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Francesca and speaker number 1 of 1987. Sorry, we wanted to start because according to the rules, the team pro should start. But now, thank you for your questions. And now we are saying today that our idea of intensive agriculture is not something that uses fertilizers, pesticides, as you said, like, for example, for or genetically modified products. We are talking about a more sustainable one that tries to use at the best the resources that we have. And I don't think that it's the same for the extensive agriculture. For example, nowadays, a lot of people are moving from the countryside to the cities. And the extensive agriculture tries to use more employers in order to obtain products. But how can a more extensive agriculture can be sustainable in this case?
You asked why a sustainable agriculture can be faced in economic way. Actually, the cost of the products reveals the value of the products. So we can't contain every time costs and decide if we want to contain the costs and make people not in good health, or not contain the costs and give something good to eat to people.
Well, you are talking about products that are not healthy for us, but we have not evidence that some products that are not that are produced by the intensive agriculture is not healthy. And for this reason, moreover, we can also say that technology is always improving. And this is the case also for genetically modified products. So according to, we should use more technologies in order to respect our planet, our nature, and also to produce more and healthy.
I want to answer that is demonstrated by the Italian Association of Agriculture and Scientific Societies. That's the product created by intensive agriculture is exactly non-healthy. For the enormous quantity of phytosanitarians, fertilizers that produce the highest amounts of both meat and plants. In another case, paradoxically, to intensive farming, an extensive farming system is practiced in a low population density region like USA, North America, Peru, Australia, New Zealand. But the fast-growing population and the poor you find in the other countries, like, for example, Sahara Africans, Swazian state, the poorest country. This is paradoxy because we have to improve the extensive agriculture in the poorest. For the point that I talked about before, and this is the possibility to deliver the essential good where don't exist. Thank you very much.
So, sorry, go CeSI.
No, prego.
I'm speaker one of the CON team, and I wanted to add a point. Contrarily of what you said, a good model for arid lands, which would be proper to apply, is the extensive agriculture, because it needs less rainfall in relation to the intensive one. And it would be appropriate, especially in the desert regions, where water for the cropping is not available.
Well, we could answer very, very briefly to this because if you have an high-intensive technology agriculture, it could be possible to use less water, like the Israel example given by my colleagues.
Yeah, and also I didn't get what was your answer when we talk about how extensive agriculture takes a lot of land, so it causes a migration problem towards the city, and how can you do that without going to penalize people living in the extensive area where you're going to do that?
Sorry, but I take your point, but I don't agree very at all, because I think that as humans are part of the earth, and also animals and plants are part of the earth, it's obvious that they must be together, they must live together. So it's not, I think it's not also safe to encourage intensive agriculture in order to give more space to cities, but to combine the two things, and not to make intensive agriculture go on. It's like I think that there is a style of life that can be very natural and safe, as the farm style life, in which everyone has his needs and just need to go out and take what to eat and what to live for.
Yeah, well, I think that this can apply to the richest countries of the world, when there is the power and the money to actually do this change. And sorry, maybe this is better.
It's okay.
But I don't see how the poorest country can do this change.
Actually, we observe that in countries like Africa and Asia and Australia, there is this type of agriculture that gives a lot of results. And Africa is not one of the richest countries of the world anymore.
Stop, guys, we have just finished the time. So we have just listened to the two teams, the full team with captain and speakers. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express the final speech in order to earn this first challenge. Exponi competition was born in 2014-2015, and for this particular online edition 2020, the debate is linked to European project and climate change, Start Climate of Change, in which WeWorld Onlus is the front runner with other 16 European organizations and financed by European Commission as a part of a big project, the DEAR program, Development, Education and Awareness Raising Program. This kind of initiative, like Exponi, wants to encourage and force the students to consider important phenomena like climate change and sustainability or migration, and wants to create a movement of informed people ready to change their lifestyle and ready to ask politicians to change their policy. So now we can come back to the last part of this challenge. So now, captains, if you are ready, you can give your conclusive speech. in front of the jury. So, captain of the pro team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. First of all, we would like to thank the other team for the interesting point of view. Now, we think that is very important to briefly summarize what is our point about the intensification of agriculture. First, intensive agriculture is a major ally in the fight against hunger, in our opinion. Secondly, the implementation of intensive agriculture is very important to reach the goal of a transition from fossil fuel to biofuel. And thirdly, intensive agriculture could be a good tool to improve the national agricultural production and avoid import dependence and exposition to international shock. Our point is not to intensify the production through an increase in the use of land and fertilizer, but intensify it with more efficiently and more technologically advanced strategies. This is why my first speakers has talked about the sustainable intensification, which means developing a productive agriculture and at the same time reaching a high standard of environmental performance. As she say, the goal is to produce more with less. About this, we have given you the example of Israel and its high technological agricultural production that use also less water. My colleague also give you the example of China, where the technological intensification of agriculture is very much needed goal to reach in order to guarantee the production of enough food in order to mitigate the food security problem. Technologically, intensification can also be reached through the use of special seeds, which are more productive, more resistant to climate change, and need less water, again, and less fertilizer. We would like to underline that going back to ancient way of production could not be sustainable for all the countries, and it could penalize countries that are already in a difficult situation. To reach the goal of more agricultural production and also environmental protection, we should look at the future and moving forward instead of watching the past and trying to go backwards. In conclusion, we think that the point is not if we need intensive agriculture, but at what condition we should implement it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The captain of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. Intensive agriculture is a huge problem that now invests all countries all over the world and does not ensure the perfect balance between agriculture, society, and environment. It is not possible to continue this way, but a real change is necessary, and we must start as soon as possible for that in order not to get in health problems for the mondial population. In my group, we subline 3 important points that need and merit to be mentioned. First of all, we cannot destroy the environment to satisfy everyone's needs. It's not by using fertilizers that we will benefit of safe and good food. Secondly, the fact that it is possible to take not only from a specific slice of earth, but for a very large one, will benefit, so not to stress it, as it also has been shown by studies of CEART, and that shows that there is a less environmental impact. Lastly, what animals do eat is actually what we are going to eat. So it is very bad to feed them with antibiotics or hormones to make them grow in a rapid and stressing way, just to intensify and to make them look better on the shelf of the supermarket. The innovative, respectable, and best solution to resolve all the problems that intensive agriculture already gave us is also looking up at the most updated studies. It is necessary to return to an archaeological model which considers agriculture as a natural ecosystem, so by using natural fertilizers that softly acts on the biodiversity of the environment. Environment. There are several ways to practice extensive agriculture, such as rainfed agriculture. They are very clear about it. And in countries like US, Australia, and Asia, with rice plantations, and Africa too, extensive agriculture is being used for cereals, forage plants, with very imponent results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, captains, and thank you to all participants. You made a very great debate. Now I think it's time to let the jury judge the two teams and decide which is the best performance. Thank you very much to all, and we will be back in a few minutes with the winner. Thank you.
I'm Alessia Silipigni. I'm a student at the Faculty of Political and Social Science. I debate because I think that this could be not only a great way to express your personal opinion, but also a great opportunity to share your ideas with others. Actually, I strongly believe that ideas can be improved if questioned and tested. And for this reason, I debate, most of all, because I would like to consider things from another point of view.
My name is Florian Seiko, and I'm a student of economics. The faculty that I attend is the International Management faculty, and I study at Piacenza at University of Sacro Cuore, Cattolica University, to be more precise. I want to debate, and I like to debate, because I think that in order to find some solution to the complex problems that our society is facing today and in these days, so we have the problems related to for example, COVID-19, which is more present nowadays. We have the problems related to the environment. So all of these problems require complex and difficult solution, and you cannot achieve those solutions without dialogue and without debate. Every truth that you have to achieve might be also on your opponent's side, so on the side of the person that you do not agree in the beginning. So the importance of having a dialogue, the importance of debating, the importance of challenging your ideas and the ideas of the others are really, really, really necessary in order to achieve the best solution possible, and why not the truth? And that's why I want to debate, and that's why I like debating.
Sono Marta Agostinoni e frequento la facoltà di Economia e Gestione Aziendale. Dibatto perché sono convinta che noi giovani dobbiamo affrontare oggi questi problemi, poiché nel prossimo futuro saremo noi a dover intervenire per gestire questa realtà. Sta a noi infatti informarci e conoscerli ora, per poi un domani conviverci in modo resiliente.
Ciao, sono Francesco Morici, sono iscritto al secondo anno di Scienze Politiche e Relazioni Internazionali e dibatto perché voglio approfondire i temi importanti della nostra società ascoltando le opinioni degli altri e cercando di costruire una discussione concreta e non polemica.
Okay, here we are. We want to thank both teams. We really appreciated your efforts. You did a really good job. It has been a pleasure to listen to you, but we have to choose. According to us, the first team, the Pro team, 1987, has performed better. We appreciated their ability to persuade, to keep our attention. So for us, the winner is the Pro team. Yeah. Thank you both.
So congratulations, Pro Team 1987. We are sorry, naturalmente, you made your best, you made your very great debate. So to all of you, our compliments. Thank you to those who watched this debate. In a few minutes, we will be back with the second challenge. So thank you very much and good afternoon. So, good afternoon to all those who are watching this debate live on the social platforms of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. My name is Irene Pellucchi, and today I am the moderator for this last day of challenges between the teams formed by the students of our university. We are here for the second challenge of Exponi. I would like to thank the 3 members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debates. It's a pleasure to introduce to the teams and to the audience Professor Monica Spatti, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Professor Spatti is here as a representative also for the other 2 members of the jury who are following the debate in the backstage. Professor Roberto Zobboli, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences, and Professor Marco Caselli, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Today, we have the last 3 debates of the second stage. The 2 finalists will challenge each other in January, and the winner will join the regional championship with the teams of other Italian universities. So let's start the debate, the second challenge. So here is the topic of the challenge. To disseminate civic sense, should we repress misconduct or teach and encourage virtuous behavior? So I welcome the pro team, the Exponiamo team, and on the other side, the Con team 1987. So I want to remind the topic of this challenge: to disseminate civic sense, should we repress misconduct or teach and encourage virtuous behavior? So the captains will open the debate, starting always with the pro team. Then the first and the second speakers will take part into the discussion. So teams, you know the rules. Good luck and may the best team win. So captain of the pro team, if you're ready, 3 minutes.
I'm ready.
Please.
Thank you. I want to start my dissertation with an answer. How can we define civic sense? Well, by this term, we mean being not aware not only of the fact that we are part of a community, but also of being deeply related with other human beings and knowing that somehow we rely on them. Therefore, having strong civic sense means feeling the sense of responsibility and of belonging. Our civic sense can be shown as by respecting the public good in order to that people that in future will use it, and in the same way and with the same decorum. So in most cases, our civic sense comes from our parents' behavior, and this is a fact that we tend to imitate. So civic sense is something deeply rooted in us, and that's why, for example, in Pakistan, everyone throws their garbage away, but this is just an example, because according to a survey made by ISTAT in 2016, it has emerged that around 3% of the Italian population thinks that it's tolerable not to pay taxes, and 24% thinks it is acceptable to park in no parking spot. As we said before, civic sense is fundamental. It is taught in schools, and above all by our parents and relatives. Also involving the single citizen can be a good solution and a better one than the fine penalty. So during our childhood, our parents are a role model for our moral and intellectual growth. For this reason, we strongly believe as their children that their behavior is correct, and so we imitate them. Therefore, in the long run, they become habits and behavior so deeply rooted in us that define our personality or attitude through the public good. So the single individual would find themselves directly involved and they would feel much more responsible and therefore encouraged to respect all the things and places they took care of. On the contrary, the sanctions punish people, but they don't guarantee that the individual will understand their mistake. In this way, they probably will do it again. So the problem is solvable educating to virtuous behavior, and in this way we can guarantee the comprehension. In conclusion, reinforcing civic sense in school is fundamental to reach tomorrow's parents the importance of public good, which by passing into the children, they will start a chain reaction would be the obvious pointless of the penalty. Thank you.
Thank you, the captain of CON team. If you're ready, 3 minutes for you. The floor is yours.
So thank you. We would like to thank the captain of the opponent team, the judges, and everyone that is listening to us today. Our team will support today the thesis that education and prevention are important to spread civic responsibility, but they are not enough to combat misconduct. To support our idea, 2 authors will help us today. The first one is John Brightwhite. He is an expert of restorative justice, and he elaborated the theory called responsive regulation. In order to understand it, I would like to ask you to imagine a pyramid made up of 3 different levels. On the basis, we have education and prevention, that help people to self-regulate their behavior and to respect the rules. But there will be always people that decide not to follow these rules. So we go to the second level. Here we have persuasion. So the authority and the community ask people that don't respect the rules to follow them. And once again, if they will not respect the laws, we go to the top of this pyramid. Here we find enforcement measures addressed to who decides not to follow the rules in order to protect the rights of all the components of the community. But keep in mind that all these enforcement measures must be undertaken without violence and in a democratic system. So enforcement measures are never desirable, but they are necessary, as well as education and prevention, because there will be always an outlier that violates the law. The second author that is helping us today is Adam Smith, with his theory, the theory of moral sentiments. According to Smith, the pursuit of our personal interest has 2 limits. The first one is inside every person. He calls it the moral of sympathy. So I have to judge my own actions from an external point of view, like I were an impartial spectator. But if this internal limit isn't strong enough, we need an external one. And for Smith and for us, it is the institution of justice that imposes enforcement measures when needed. So this theory can be applied to the economic system, but also in every aspect of our life, because the logic is the same. So now I leave the floor, and the speakers of our team will explain better why education and prevention are not enough to combat misconduct. Thank you.
Thank you, captains. So the first speaker of the pro team, 3 minutes for you.
Sanctions are necessary, but it's with education that we can teach civic sense, that we can reach civic sense, not through the fear of sanctions, not through the constriction to people to follow those rules because of fear. People are not free. We can see the real behaviors of people only in freedom. If people are subjected by fear, we cannot see if they're civilized or not. So sanctions are like a screen that we put over the real behaviors of people, but we do not really teach civic sense that is fundamental. Because as we said, my captain said, civic sense is fundamental. It is taught in education in school and in family. It is essential because by learning and making it ours, we can avoid those behaviors that are disrespectful and harmful for the people that surround us and our community. For example, let's analyze the facts happening in Japan due to a tsunami and an earthquake that happened in 2011. The affected areas, shops were left unattended, but no one stole anything. We now compare these situations with situation episodes. In Turin, for example, there was a protest against curfew, and a lot of protesters showed their anger by looting shops and damaging furthermore the shopkeepers, and also knocking off garbage bins, making the situation even more complicated. What is the difference between these two episodes? Japan is one of the most globally known for their civic sense, that is deeply rooted in their culture and strongly encouraged. According with The Guardian, Japanese people behaviors during the pandemic were excellent. The research showed that countries that better faced the pandemic were the ones where civic sense is more deeply rooted, convincing the population to buy masks and respect the social distancing by themselves, and making it more effective in the battle against the virus. Unfortunately, as we said before, we have seen that this doesn't always happen. Civic sense is often lacking, and it's not enough importance is given to its teaching. Civic sense is important, and our aim is to give civic sense the same importance that Japan does. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first speaker of CON team. If you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, and thanks to our captains and the other team's interventions. Although we agree with the pro team that teaching civic sense and civic education are important, we would like to clarify and elaborate on our position. So first of all, when arguing for stricter penalties to spread civic responsibility, we are not focusing on serious crimes like murder or theft that do deserve strict penalties. Instead, we are focusing on the kind of small actions, in a sense, that everyone knows are necessary for a healthy society, a healthy environment, and a healthy economy, but that some people just seem unable to carry out. I'm thinking, for example, proper waste recycling, or just wearing a mask during a deadly pandemic. In addition, we are not talking about the kind of strict penalties that can be seen in some countries, and there are an outright violation of human dignity and human rights. Instead, what we are saying is that teaching civic responsibility is not enough to prevent the kind of uncivic behavior that we witness, because knowledge alone does not lead to behavioral change. For example, everyone knows that plastic is bad for the environment and that plastic waste should not end up in landfills, but should rather be properly recycled. Yet, how many times have we seen plastic waste where it was not supposed to be? In these cases, behavioral research has shown that by acting on people's economic, social, and moral incentives, there can be behavioral change. Therefore, there can be civic responsibility. Stricter penalties, such as costly sanctions or even some jail time, but not necessarily 30 years, can act as a negative economic and social incentive for people to behave the way they know it's beneficial to behave. For example, if you know that you will be fined $500 or you will be served plastic-filled tuna for life if you're caught dumping plastic waste in the ocean, will you really do it repeatedly? We do not think so. As our captain illustrated, Adam Smith, already in the 18th century, stated that if we all leave it to the single individual and its moral principles, then those individuals will just pursue what's best for their own personal interest, leading to societal catastrophes. We want to avoid that. So to achieve the common good, it is also necessary to pull individuals' levers through stricter penalties. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we give a little break to the themes. If you need it, participants, you can coordinate, you speak to each other and rethink or reconsider your strategy if this is the case. In this debate, we have seen the two teams challenging and debate on civic sense and behavior. This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of the European Commission. And for this particular edition, the themes are linked to Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals that were adopted by United Nations members in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Everyone is needed to reach these ambitious targets. The creativity, know-how, knowledge, technology, and financial resources from all of society is necessary to achieve these important SDGs in every kind of context. So now the break is over, so we can come back to the debate, to the challenge, and we can start with the second speaker of the pro team. 3 minutes for you. So I think the microphone, please.
Sorry. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to remind you that education is necessary to spread civic sense in our society. Civic sense is everything. It is connected to every single type of behavior that people have in their everyday life. Civic sense is not only connected to some kind of sanction. Civic sense is connected with murder, but also throwing garbage on the street. We think that sanctions, yes, are fundamental, but we strongly believe that sanction don't teach people how to behave. Civic education actually teaches how people should behave. Without it, people will keep on doing things wrong. As a matter of fact, we strongly believe that civic education in schools and families is fundamental to spread civic sense in our society, and would directly affect the use of sanctions. As we said before, preventive civic education could create a chain reaction that will lead in the end at the uselessness of sanctions. Let's reflect for a second on the sanctions role. They are shown to the individual as an incentive not to commit illegal acts, but the obedience is not always synonymous of civic sense. In fact, with sanctions, people will obey not because of civic sense, but because of fear, and fear is not civic sense. The reality of fact is that sanctions do not teach civic sense, but encourage fear. Facing this truth, it's more important education and its role in the spreading of civic sense. The single individual that was punished not always understands what they have done wrong. According to the law, they just must pay the fine or simply serve their sentence. Probably they will never really understand their mistakes, and they could repeat it in the future. Thank you. I yield the floor to the moderator.
Thank you very much. The second speaker of the CON team, 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. Let's make something clear. Education is essential. We believe in education, but it's not enough. My captain, our first speaker, they both provided you clear and prominent theories about it. They showed you the schemes and the works inside the human mind. But our thesis is also visible in the material world every day around us. As you said, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, but still, we see people who are not only respecting rules to help, but also rules put that same them. How many times in the last few weeks have you seen people not wearing a mask? Or how many people have you seen driving out of their municipality even if that's not allowed? And you know why is that? Not because rules don't work, but because rules don't work if there is no one there to enforce them. You brought the example of Japan. And I agree that the responsibility is very affected by the error case. But we also have to remind the history of Japan and the centuries it took to generate that culture. Do you really think we can obtain the same result in a year or less during a pandemic? But let's look outside of this pandemic. For how many years now kids in school learn that our planet is in danger, how plastic is going to cover our world and our seas, but still we see trash and garbage polluting our coasts, our woods, our nature. But here's another example. Let's talk about the civic responsibility of industries. For years in Europe, industry had nothing if not the civic sense and their serious education guiding the choices in the safeguard of environment. And what was the result? Pollution. Drastic deterioration not only of our nature, but of people's life too. That's what we will keep having without law enforcement. It is not by chance that the EU created a specific directive, the Environmental Criminal Protection Directive, which lists a number of environmental violations which are punishable as criminal offences in all EU countries. Under that legislation, EU countries must apply effective, proportionate, and dissuasive criminal sanctions in the presence of an environmental crime, wherever it's committed intentionally or through gross negligence. We're not talking about fear here. This, instead, is the solution we're aiming for. We must counter with sanction and penalties those incentives who will push people to do the wrong thing. And yes, let's improve education, it works, but we will need sanctions and law enforcement too. There are matters out there that are way too important to leave them to people's civic sense of responsibility. And sadly, we are not talking here about just a few rotten apples. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have just listened to the speakers of each team. They have argued very well. They have expressed very important points for these issues, even if it is not so simple. But both teams have made interesting argumentation and comments. Exponi le tue idee is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as human rights, sustainability, environmental protection, development, inclusion, and migration. Exponi is an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students and professors. Two teams are challenging in a debate in which captain and speakers argue and defend their thesis and position to specific global themes. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. Students must prove their ability and demonstrate their ability and their skills. Come back to the teams, to the debate. So the break is over. We can start with the free debate, one of the last part of the challenge. So before you speak, guys, please introduce yourself.
I am the speaker number 1 of the Exponi team, and I just wanted to say the sanctions have a role of punishment, but as we said, do not teach civic sense. So how do you propose to teach civic sense without a proper civic education?
Hi, I'm the first speaker of the Pro team, and we would just like to make something clear. As we stated, both sanctions and education are necessary for civic responsibility to be a widespread feature of societies. So we're not at all disparaging the importance of education. Besides, we would also like to make clear that when we talk about sanctions, there's a wide spectrum of sanctions, like that can have a very wide meaning. We're not talking, for example, for finding plastic trash on the street to put people in jail for 30 years, because that's obviously not the right response. What we are saying is that people know they shouldn't do certain things because they know they're bad for the environment, for example. But sometimes, for a variety of reasons, they do not. So what we suggest, and behavioral research actually backs this up, you act on those incentives, which doesn't mean necessarily putting people in jail or threatening, I don't know, very bad things for them to happen. But if you make it easier for them and you provide negative incentives for them to actually behave in a certain way, it's more likely that they will do so, also because they know it's a good thing to do.
Go. Mario, go.
Okay, after this time, I'm the captain of the team Exponiamo, and I want to say that what you said is deeply wrong, because just one simple fact that sanction has a different role. Instead of teaching civic sense, we use rules and your sanctions to maintain the public order, but our goal is to teach civic sense and do that these facts doesn't happen at the beginning, not to punish them just by fear. So teaching civic sense is stronger, not just stronger, but is always the right solution. As we said before, we've always did this through our behaviors, through our parents, through everything we saw around us. We also said that the state role is really important, because teaching civic sense at the school level when guys are just babies in that moment is really important, because that's the moment when this could be deeply rooted in them. And so, as I said before, strong rules and what you said before has a different sense. And to discuss about the topic that is about just virtual behaviors, your thesis is incorrect.
Thank you. I'm the second speaker of the CON team. I wanted to say that you keep talking about fear, but we never talk about fear. We are talking about sanctions that will lessen the incentive to do the wrong thing, as we already said. So no one here is talking about fear. We're talking about changing the incentive to do something wrong by giving the incentive to do something right. So it is not fear involved. Also, you talk about freedom, but I don't think you can really talk about freedom without talking about security. I believe that to have freedom, you have to have security. The two things have to cooperate. I don't know how to say it. Freedom and security can exist one without the other. So yes, education, yes, freedom, but also education and freedom with security and law enforcement.
Well, I'm always the speaker one of the Exponiamo team. So yeah, you didn't say it out loud, but actually why you don't do something? Because you fear of being sanctioned. Sanctions de-incentivate an action. How? Having the fear of paying money, or having moral consequences or social consequences or something like that. The human beings, because they are social animal, as we all know, they have fear of having those consequences, money or behavioral or social, or what is it. Also, as you know, I think you know that we said if we implement social education, there will be a chain reaction that will bring to the fact that everyone follows those civics lines. Then there will be always the error that confirms the rule, but it's for everything. So we want to implement social education to remove the problem at the beginning.
So, thank you. I'm the captain of 1987. Thank you for your point. I've understood that you are talking about fear of the punishment, but I also think that on to balance, we have to put also our security, because you are talking about fear of the punishment, of the sanctions, but I have also I need to be sure also that my rights are respected. And moreover, you are focusing on the importance of education. And that's right, we need that education and prevention are really important as well. But for example, during a pandemic like this one that we are living, in responses that comes from education and prevention need time to in order to see their effects. And now we don't have time. We need some rules in order to incentivize people to behave in a certain way for the safety and the rights of every one of us. Thank you.
I'm the captain of Exponiamo again, and I want to say that one more time, you didn't distinguish between security and local and public order, and teaching civic sense and virtual behaviors, which is the top of the topic. So in this moment, not distinguish these two things that are really, really different. You're saying a wrong thing talking about civic sense, because we think that freedom and security must cooperate, and this can be done just through teaching civic sense. Teaching civic sense, as I said before, not just between our parents or our society, but also in schools, when guys could also discuss it and understand how we teach civic sense, how civic sense is the right thing for our society in order to live all together in the better way. Also, you talk about now your solution, your discussion that is about sanctions has no absolute matter in the future, because in the future no one is going to think about sanctions, because we talk about fear, and fear is something that happens down in this moment, but in the future has no heat. So we think that the best way to teach virtual behaviors is through civic sense and not through your sanctions.
Thank you very much, guys. We have just listened to the two teams' debate, the full team with speakers and captains. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express the final speech in order to end this challenge. Exponi competition was born in 2015, and for this particular online edition, 2020, the debate is linked to European project and climate change, Start Climate of Change, in which WeWorld Onlus is a front runner with other 16 European organizations and funded by a European Commission as a part of a big project, the VR program, Development, Education and Awareness Rising Program. This kind of initiative wants to encourage and force students to consider important phenomena like climate change, sustainability, or migration, and wants to create a movement of informed people ready to change their lifestyle and to ask politicians to change their policy. So now we can come back to the debate, to the challenge. So now, captains, if you are ready, you can give your conclusive speech. Thank you.
Well, during this topic, we discussed a lot about really important themes. And I think that we also discussed a lot, as I said before, also during the debate, that in this moment we need to distinguish between security and public order and civic sense and virtual behaviors, as I said before. So, reassuming everything we said until now, a lot of value of sanctions and again a value of civic education and civic sense would bring long-term improvements in our society and in the world we live in, because our current behaviors are mostly based on those of the past generation and on the culture of belonging. If we reverse the mechanism, we would reach a point where we could finally say that we live in a civic culture and in a civic society that is obviously our goal, and I hope that it is the goal of everyone there. Furthermore, we would like to reiterate that if all citizens were deeply involved in physical and spiritual construction of a community, it would increase their civic sense and their sense of belonging, and consequently would give them greater respect and awareness through public affairs. So we decided to close our dissertation with the quote from Dr. Alia that expressed exactly what we said until now. Unless we make civic sense a building part of the curriculum right at the early school level, we would always struggle trying to drill these ethics into adults who have already gotten comfortable with a different way of life that does not regard the value of civic sense. So we also discussed a lot between this distinguish between security and civic sense, as I said before. We also discussed a lot about long-term improvements, and we think, because it is a fact, and in this country, in our beautiful country, we yet discovered this, because today civic sense is taught in all schools in an obliged way. That teaching civic sense is the better way for a civic nation tomorrow and for civic people tomorrow. And this pandemic is showing it clearly, because this pandemic showed us that the places and the countries who better faced this pandemic were the ones with the better civic sense, because wearing a mask and social distancing is not just because of sanctions, because sanctions could not reach anyone everywhere in every moment, but for public security and for us, is better to teach civic sense in order to face these problems today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, the captain of the CON team. If you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of this interesting debate, and the opposite team brought us valid argumentations and valid issues, but my team has valid doubts about their cases as well. As me and my speakers already stated, education and prevention are important to spread civic responsibility. We are not telling the opposite. We are telling that they are not enough. 2 authors helped us today. The first one was John Brightwhite. His theory about the responsive regulation is based on people behavior. So governments should respond with more or less coercion, and when citizens do not behave responsibly at all, enforcement measures should be undertaken. They are not desirable, but necessary to protect the rights of every one of us. The second author was Adam Smith. His theory tells us that people should behave based on the principle of sympathy. That means respecting others in their own pursuit of self-interest. But if they don't do so, the institutions need to be there to ensure rules of social life are respected by all. As our first speaker, Irene, said, we are against the penalties that violate human dignity and human rights. But at least in the short run, civic education is not enough to prevent wrong behaviors. Moreover, our first speaker told us that economic, social, and moral incentives can lead to behavioral change. So if you had to pay a sanction of thousands of euros, would you repeat that wrong action again? We do not think so. Our second speaker, Asia, demonstrates with examples that sometimes people don't respect the rules, not because rules don't work, but because rules don't work if there is no one that enforces them. She reported the example of this pandemic crisis, in which we have seen people not wearing masks during this period of crisis. And she also talked about industries at their high rates of pollution if there were no law enforcement. And our second speaker made also clear the example of the EU directive that lists a number of environmental violations which are punishable as criminal offenses in all EU countries. We really would like to live in a society that doesn't need laws and sanctions, That would mean that each one of us has internalized the right behavior to follow. But that will be an utopia. We live in the real world and we have to be realistic. Thank you.
Thank you, captains, and thank you to all the participants. You made a very great debate. Now I think it's time to let the jury judge the two teams and decide which is the best performance. So thank you very much. We will come back in a few minutes with the winner. Thank you.
I'm Enrico Fedele. I'm a student at the Faculty of Economics, and I debate because I believe that debating is a very close friend of progress and is the only way that we can find solutions together.
Mi chiamo Valentina Galli, frequento la Facoltà di Scienze Politiche e Sociali dell'Università Cattolica e dibatto perché dibattere per me è passione, è confronto ed è crescita con gli altri.
I'm Alessia Silipigni. I'm a student at the Faculty of Political and Social Science. I debate because I think that this could be not only a great way to express your personal opinion, but also a great opportunity to share your ideas with others. Actually, I strongly believe that ideas can be improved if questioned and tested. And for this reason, I debate, most of all, because I would like to consider things from another point of view.
Ciao, sono Francesco Morici, sono iscritto al secondo anno di Scienze Politiche e Relazioni Internazionali e dibatto perché voglio approfondire i temi importanti della nostra società ascoltando le opinioni degli altri e cercando di costruire una discussione concreta e non polemica.
Sono Marta Agostinoni e frequento la Facoltà di Economia e Gestione Aziendale. Dibatto perché sono convinta che noi giovani dobbiamo affrontare oggi questi problemi, poiché nel prossimo futuro saremo noi a dover intervenire per gestire questa realtà. Sta a noi infatti informarci e conoscerli ora per poi un domani conviverci in modo resiliente.
Sorry, Prof, the microphone, please.
You're right, sorry, I'm very sorry. I was saying that this topic has been very interesting. The topic is interesting, the debate has been interesting, and both teams have expressed their arguments very clearly. But we are the jury, we have to decide. So to us, the second team, the 1987, has expressed their position more clearly, have been convincing to us. Compliments.
So congratulations, 1987. We are so sorry, Exponiamo. You made a very great debate. You did your best. And to all of you, our compliments. So thank you very much to those who watched this debate. In a few minutes, we will be back for the last debate of the day. Thank you very much and good afternoon. So, good afternoon to all those who are watching this debate live on the social platforms of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. My name is Irene Pellucchi, and today I am the moderator for this last day of challenges between the teams formed by the students of our university. Now we are here for the third challenge of Exponi. I would like to thank the three members of the jury who are here with us to judge the following debates. It's a pleasure to introduce to the teams and to the audience Professor Monica Spatti, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Professor Spatti is here as representative members of the jury who are following the debate in a backstage. Professor Roberto Zoboli, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences, and Professor Marco Caselli, professor at the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences. Today we have the last free debate of the second stage. The two finalists will challenge each other in January, and the winner will join the regional championship with the teams of the other Italian universities. So now I think we can start with the last debate. Here is the topic of the challenge: low-cost tourism, economic opportunity or environmental risk? So I welcome the pro team as we speak, and on the other side, the con team, 1987. So I want to remind the topic: low-cost tourism, economic opportunity or environmental risk. The captains will open the debate, starting with the pro team. Then the first and the second speaker will take part into the discussion. So teams, you know the rules. Good luck and may the best team win. So captain of the pro team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. First of all, let's get some data straight. Low-cost flight price is often 20-30% lower than large airlines, but can be as much as 50-80% when booking early. That's because the low-cost companies use strong economies of scale in order to cut even more on costs. Just with a couple of dozen euros, you can easily fly across the country or region, and let's be honest, ain't that a good thing? The low-cost in-flight experience may not be as comfortable as with traditional airlines, but travel is a means to an end. Why wouldn't we prefer spending our money on the reasons we're flying, be it hotel, shopping, sightseeing, than on the flight itself? Till around the 70s, traveling by plane was so expensive that it had to be limited to journeys for work or business. There were few companies who provided flight services, therefore the price was very high. Many new companies have now developed, managing to get traveling possible for a great amount of people all around. Traveling, the possibility to get in touch with other cultures, to relax, to get a break from work, it was an exclusive of people who could afford it. Through gaining new understandings about people whose lives are different from our own, we might develop an exist even in our own cities. Traveling gives us the possibility to learn, to grow, to live experiences worth living. It gives us the possibility to develop skills and tools that only a journey can give us. The consequence of that is that the exposure to different cultures and the growth that comes from it used to remain trapped in an elite of people, of just a few people. Why would we let this right be reserved just to people that can spend a remarkable amount of money on their vacations? In such a globalized world where either studying in another country or city, or we have a friend, a relative, or a partner somewhere far from us. That's why it's imperative to make it accessible to as many people as possible. That's why low-cost flights are absolutely necessary. There are also countries that entirely rely on tourism, which creates jobs and increases employment. The payment of fees, such as VAT, implement the virtuous circle of economy that both people enjoy at the same time. Lower prices increase the consumptions in the country that you are visiting. This contributes to have better life conditions for everyone. Countries that might not have the same appeal of others, or that are not as known as others, could manage to rise into the main possibilities between the most visited countries because of this price drop. Discounts are rarely made for the most visited countries or cities because the demand is always very high. They will more likely be made in less visited countries where the demand is lower. And in the end, as Margherita in a bit, by choosing to travel by plane, you choose the most efficient way of traveling. Thank you. I leave the floor.
Thank you very much. The captain of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you to the organizers, the pro team, and the judges for participating today in this debate over the benefits and the drawbacks of low-cost tourism. As the CON team, we will take a consequentialist approach and argue that because of its detrimental impact on the environment, societies, and the economies, low-cost tourism is a risk. But let's first start by framing the issue. So low-cost flights and the resulting convenience of tourist activities constitute the main elements of so-called low-cost tourism, which has increased in the past 2 decades. However, such convenience has also led to multiple instances of over-tourism all around the world. So what is over-tourism? The United Nations World Tourism Organization defines it as tourism's negative impact on visitors and locals' quality of life in tourist destinations. And the European Parliament expanded on this definition by adding the idea of physical, environmental, social, economic, psychological, and political limits that tourism crosses. So practically, over-tourism refers to all the situations where tourism is no longer an opportunity, but rather a nuisance or even an outright threat to local communities and ecosystems. For this reason, we argue that over-tourism is not compatible with the universally recognized definition of sustainability, which means the ability to preserve environmental, social, and economic resources for future generations. Why? That it's because it strains the environment, degrading it and contributing to biodiversity loss. It also leads to multiple instances of labor rights violations among the sector's workers. And it is not clear how it can lead to a sustained, it can provide a sustained source of income and prosperity in tourist destinations. Based on these effects, which seem to be the defining feature of low-cost tourism, we argue that low-cost tourism poses environmental risks that far outweigh its economic benefits. Our team will further illustrate the unsustainable nature of low-cost tourism. We will also provide some jarring examples of over-tourism, but we will also suggest some more sustainable alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the first speaker of the pro team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
Yes. The other team sustains that low-cost flights are threatening our environment, but let's take a look at some actual facts. The Air Transport Action Group, a group made by experts of the aviation sector that deals with sustainable development, share with us some interesting data. This sector is responsible for only 2% of the CO2 emissions produced by human activity worldwide. Moreover, according to the European Environment Agency, in 2016, only 13% of the CO2 emissions were caused by transportation sector. Just to make a comparison, cars from all over the world account for 72% of the sector's total emission. We have now talked about airplanes in general, but let's now focus on the actual theme of this debate, the low-cost flights. Low-cost flights are more environmentally friendly than higher-cost alternatives. According to a report made by the Transition Pathway Initiative, a global initiative that evaluates the preparation of companies for the transition to a low-carbon economy, EasyJet is the company that produces the lowest impact in terms of CO2 emitted. Low-cost airlines tend to fly newer planes, which they can acquire at a large discount when placing bulk orders. It's safer and it's newer. EasyJet has 4-year-old plane. This, unfortunately, is not the case of many traditional airlines, which continue to fly planes that can be 20 or more years old. Airplanes company already have a plan, and they're reducing their airplanes emissions significantly as we speak. As my captain already explained to you, low-cost flights is such an enormous opportunity that it would be naive and counterproductive to deprive us from the beneficial consequences coming from this. The ICAO, Autonomous Agency of the United Nations, set some guidelines for improving fuel consumption. It set a threshold of 1.5% per year. Nearly all the airlines survived met this diktat by 2020, some more than others. Each EasyJet plane is currently emitting around 75 grams of CO2 per passenger per kilometer in 2020, compared to 172 grams per person per kilometer for Korean Air, which is not low cost. The researchers at Stockholm Royal Institute of Technology compare aircraft model, CO2 emissions, and passenger numbers, and discovered that low-cost carriers are greener than their more expensive counterparts. This is primarily because they tend to fill their plane with travelers, leading to an overall reduction in carbon dioxide emission. An intermediate step is the so-called compensation. Yet, as a BBC investigation reported, airlines offer passengers the opportunity to offset the carbon dioxide produced by their flights by paying a little more for their tickets so that the company can fund environmental projects. It is estimated that the offset the carbon footprint of a return flight from London to Malaga would only take £4. Intensive agriculture, intensive farming, and on-road transportation. These are the real environmental issues that our planet is facing nowadays. Should we really focus our entire efforts of defeating climate change on low-cost flights? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the first speaker of the CAN team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you.
So thank you for giving me the floor, and thanks to our captain for expressing our position clearly. So the points reported by the other teams were interesting, but we don't really agree. And we will try to explain why. We don't want to focus only on airplane emissions. We haven't even mentioned them, but to the consequences of mass tourism that this brings. Thanks to our captain, we have seen that low-cost tourism cannot be defined sustainable from an environmental, social, and economic point of view. Over-tourism made possible by low-cost tourism doesn't hit just some cities in more developed countries. It has a global effect, and it is also more fragile parts of the world. For these reasons, we strongly believe that other types of tourism should be promoted. We are talking about slow tourism. It is a different approach that supports the quality and the slowness of the touristic experience, and it is based on respect. The benefits are higher than those of low-cost tourism. Firstly, responsible tourists respect more the environment because it is based on activities and transport that are less polluting and have a lower ecological impact. For example, it includes trekking, walks, cycle tourism, and it allows to really appreciate that specific place and so to respect it. Secondly, from an economic point of view, slow tourism is not necessarily expensive. Nowadays, also travel agencies keep up with these changes and offer this kind of travels at affordable prices. Moreover, slow tourism gives you the time to get in touch and support real local business activities, like, for example, little artisans. Thirdly, from a social point of view, slow tourism respects more, from one side, the workers in this sector. Just think about the exploitation of workers in low-cost airline companies or workers in the cruise industry. On the other side, it respects more also local people and the local culture. You really get in touch with local traditions, food, art, music, and there is a real exchange. For all these reasons, We believe that low-cost tourism is not sustainable from different perspectives, and there are better alternatives. Now, I would like to thank you and to give the floor to the other speakers.
So, thank you very much. Now we give a little break to the teams. If you need it, participants, you can coordinate each other, you can speak each other and rethink or reconsider your strategy if it is the case. In this debate, we have seen two teams challenging on risk and opportunity of low-cost tourism. This is Exponi, the debate contest promoted by WeWorld Onlus with the support of European Commission. And for this particular edition, the themes are linked to Sustainable Development Goals, known as the Global Goals, that were adopted by United Nations members in 2015 as a universal call to action in order to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Everyone is needed to reach these ambitious targets. The creativity, knowledge, know-how, technology, and financial resources from all society is necessary to achieve the SDGs in every kind of contest. So now we can come back to the debate. So the break is over. And we will come back to the second speaker of the Pro team. If you're ready, the floor is yours.
All right. So when the opposition team spoke, there are two main questions that come to our mind. So where is the environmental impact, and how it occurs? So how it happens and when it happens. And to explain a little bit more, I'll go one after one point of the opposition team, of the points that opposition team exposed. So firstly, the point about overtourism, right? So they basically said that it is very risky. We have a lot of problems related to this negative type of tourism. And they only stated that these are the consequences that a study, a report said that this happens, right? But they never said when it occurs, how it occurs, and how it is possible that in some ways this type of tourism is really creating those damages. And they didn't, because it's not that clear how it is caused. Firstly, because the tourism has a lot of advantages in the countries that, as the first speaker of our team and as the captain of our team said, the countries that you are visiting. You give them money, you spend a lot of, you consume a lot in those countries, you are supporting in this way all the money that you didn't spend for your ticket inside the country itself. You are financing with money that country, both in governmental term with the VAT tax, and both in the consumer in the shops term with paying the products there. Number two, so just to finish it up, there is no real problem again. And number two, the problems with the workers. Right, yeah, as every company that has the cost leadership, you have to cut costs, and we agree that there are some strikes in this type of product. But let me hear again, every business that has this model has those issues, and not every business that has this leadership has dealt with those problems like the low-cost companies. They have solved it, they're creating jobs, and they're creating a lot of them, and they're offering possibilities to the workers that want to work in that sector to start with a little experience. And this is something that no other type of company is actually doing in the sector. So then again, this isn't like a real problem. It's a problem that is supportable. And then again, how is this an environmental problem? We showed to you that the environmental problem, which they never attacked, we never heard something about climate from the other team, is a matter because it doesn't exist. This is an economical problem, and even if this was an environmental problem, I already rebuttal it. So then again, it doesn't exist. And then the second point of the last speaker from opposition team was basically said that you need to spend a lot of money to get in touch with the culture. Firstly, no, this isn't true. It depends on the person who is traveling and what type of journey he wants to do, what type of vacation he wants to do. And number two, we have to guarantee the possibility for every person to do whatever he wants with visiting the States. And we cannot just say, if you want to travel, you have to buy it, you have to spend more. And if you don't have money, well, that's up to you. Then you don't travel, as it was in the 60s, in the 70s. So for all these reasons, we proudly support low-cost vacations and low-cost companies. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. So the second speaker of the CON team, if you're ready, 3 minutes for you. The microphone, please.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
First of all, we would like to thank the other team for the interesting point, and we would like to respond somehow. Talking about overtourism, yes, you asked some examples, so I would like to show you the example of the environmental impact of the overtourism in the Southeast of Asia. We have, for example, the Halong Bay in Vietnam, the Maya Bay in Thailand, the Boracay Island in the Philippines, Bali, Komodo National Park in Indonesia. These destinations are very popular and are so polluted by tourists and little regulated that in some cases it was necessary to even close these places for some times, so they can let the ecosystem to recover and restore. This was caused certainly by low-cost travel and by the fame given by social networks. Also, we would like to offer you some over-tourism problem very much closer. I think that everyone knows Venice, and everyone knows how crowded is the city. There's a big problem, environmental problem caused by the big cruises, but also bigger problems inside the cities, because there are so many tourists that there are no longer local inhabitants. That it's not only an environmental problem, but also a social problem, because the city is not more a nice place to live. Also, we would like, you have to underline that low-cost tourists may be a good chance for developing countries to help their economies. But we would like to say that economy benefits may not be as great as expected because of the profit are kept by foreign investors. There are relative low wages for local people, and there are seasonal unemployment. Also, tourist-based economy could not be a sustainable solution over time due to exposition to shocks, as the current pandemic has shown us, or some other reason why a popular destination can become suddenly less attractive. Let's think about an earthquake that can scare people and keep them away maybe for months or years, and an economy only based on tourism, like somehow happen in some countries, could collapse. We also want to underline that low-cost travel often implies unsustainable and under the standard treatment of workers in the sector, as proven by the UAE-wide Ryanair work strikes back in 2018, because the CEO refused to work with unions to guarantee work standard. I think that we all know about how much the work standard are not respected. And in the end, I would like to underline that you have said that low-cost travel is an opportunity for all the people that like to travel. But looking at the data of the CO2 emission from air travel, we can see that the high-income countries are the responsibility for. Oh, sorry, it's over the 3 minutes. Thank you.
So thank you very much. We have listened to the speakers of each team. They were argued very well, and they expressed very important points for these issues, even if it is not so simple. But both teams have made interesting argumentation and comments. Exponi le tue idee is an educational competition based on debate and discussion for students. Students' job is to explore and deepen the themes proposed that are related to global themes and current events, such as human rights, sustainability, development, environmental protection, inclusion, and migration. Exponi is an exercise to promote and support participation and active citizenship for students and professors. Two teams are challenging in a debate in which captains and speakers argue and defend their theses related to specific global themes. Only one team will be the winner, showing the value of his performance and argumentation. Students must prove and defend their ability and their capacity or skills. So now we can come back to the challenge. The break is over, so we can start with the free debate. Before you speak, guys, remember to introduce yourself. Thank you.
So I'm the representative of the team as we speak, so the pro team. And I would like to state some facts about what my opponent team has said. So you talked about over-tourism, right? But I would like to point out that our kind of flights, the kind of flights that we're here talking about defending, try and give as much possibility as possible to travel in different timetables, different airports, different countries. So that the consequence of that is that the traveling goes spread all over. So the possibility to travel is actually more. So over tourism should be no problem about it. Actually, larger airplane companies travel to main cities, so they're very crowded when they do, and they travel in specific timetables, very strict timetables. So I just wanted to point out this. And then you talked about how our way of traveling is more polluting than others. This is we don't really agree. As Margherita, our first speaker, said, the pollution is 2% of the CO2 emissions. So that's very low in the percentage of. In general, the flight percentage is quite low, but the low-cost companies are even lower than that. And again, you talked about over-tourism and the examples that you brought us, and you talked about less regulated city. So that should be the problem. Tourists then don't respect the city where they go, that they visit. That's because there's no regulation about it. But I don't see the connection with the low-cost flights. I don't see the connection. I think that's about regulation in the specific cities. And I would like to ask you, in the end, what's your solution if you don't really like low-cost flights? What's your solution to make everyone to be able to travel at the same level, like equally? What's your solution if it's not low-cost traveling? Thank you.
No. Okay, I would like to answer to the last question, because we think that low-cost tourism, in fact, does not allow everyone to fly at the same level, because as I was talking about before, if you watch at the emission from air travels, the 62% of emission comes from the high-income countries. So this means that low-cost travel are just another way for rich people from rich countries to live their consumistic life. Other countries, other middle-income, lower-income countries actually does not use this way as much as the rich countries. So it's not some equal way to travel for all the world.
If I might answer, it's not a problem. Second speaker of proposition team. Now, if I didn't understand well, you're saying basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have the majority of the pollution coming from the developed countries, and this means that the majority of people that takes low-cost journeys is from the developed countries. I'm right? That's what you, okay. So this is basically, you're saying something and relating it to a consequence that isn't really the real consequence. This happens because, as it is normal that happens, the countries that are more developed have more money and have more GDP, and this is fine. And that's why those type of companies, the low-cost companies, are in those countries. But what we were saying is not that all the people around the world, all 6 billion, 8 billion people that live now in the world, will be able to fly. We are saying that if we compare the possibility of flying now with this type of companies to the possibility that we had 20, 30 years ago, a lot of people is able to fly more. And if this wasn't true, we will not have a problem of over-tourism, right? So then you have to choose. Or we have over-tourism, or we have less, or we have not too much people flying. There are two things that should not be separate. And if you choose either of one of those two, both of them are already tackled by our team. So then again, you have to decide which of these theses you want to keep.
So thank you for your point. I would like to answer. I'm the speaker one of team 1987, and you are connecting the fact that this new way of traveling, of low-cost traveling, allow people to travel more and to reach different parts of the world. And you don't see really the connection with mass tourism. That's why usually we follow what is more popular. So we usually we would like to go to some places that are also in other parts of the world, but instead of really getting to this country, we prefer, for example, taking a picture in this place and sharing it on Instagram, maybe. And in order to respond also to the captain of the other team, she told us that there aren't other ways to reach the world, other parts of the world in a different way. Well, we can just think about a different kind of traveling, like, for example, interrail for young people. So young students and young people can travel all around Europe by train. That is less polluting, of course, than planes. And just the last one thing, the speaker number 2 of the other team said that in order to travel and to approach a slow tourism, you need to spend more. I've never said that. I said that, for example, also tourism agency right now are keeping up with new offers of travels that have affordable prices. Thank you.
I'll add on this a little bit. So I'll start with the end of your point. If you're talking about agencies of tourism, this will be absolutely more expensive, of course, because agencies keep a little percentage of the price. So not only you will pay the tickets, you also pay something for the agencies. And that's why if you do a research on the market, you find out that the most people that go to the agency are old people that do not want to organize this type of journeys. And you can check this data later on if you want. Then you come to the point of Interrail. Firstly, the problem about Interrail is more expensive, especially for students that do not have that much capital, and it takes a lot of time more to travel all Europe, for example, with train. You need 30 days, and if you do not have that time, what do you do? If you are older, for example, if you are 30, you do not have like a lot of weeks for vacation. So that's to answer your questions. Thank you.
So thank you very much. We have finished. So we have just listened to the two teams' debate. The full team with his speakers and captains. After these few minutes, we will see the two teams come back, and each team will express the final speech in order to end this challenge. Exponi competition born in 2014-2015, and for this particular online edition 2020, the debate is linked to European project and climate change, Start Climate of Change, in which WeWorld Onlus is front runner with other 16 European organizations and funded by European Commission as a part of a big project, DEAR program, Development, Education and Awareness Raising Program. This kind of initiative, like Exponi, wants to encourage and force students to consider important phenomena like sustainability, climate change, and migration, and wants to create a movement of informed people, ready to change their lifestyle and to ask a politician to change their policy. So now, if the teams are ready, we can come back to the challenge, to the debate. And so, the captains, if you're ready, you can give your conclusive speech.
Yes, thank you. So, imagine a parent moving to Europe for his or her country of origin to provide a salary to send home. These people need to leave their families there, usually working a discrete number of hours, and send most of the money that they earn back home. Surely they won't be able to have particularly long vacations because of their work condition, and they logically can't spend a quarter of their salary to go visit their loved ones. But they have no alternative, so they'll have to keep working. They must keep working, and they will give up on seeing their families because they have to. I think we all would like to make life a little bit easier to people who live in this kind of situations. They're not even the only ones. Let's, for example, think about students abroad who pay huge amounts of university's fees and rents, or people in long-distance relationships. With providing low-cost flights, we're helping these people who are already forced to live without their families, to at least see them once in a while. But let's recap a bit our position. Let's make things a little bit clearer. So low-cost flights allow traveling on different days of the week, different timetables, and to different airports. As I was saying before, this should be the complete opposite of what over-tourism is provoked by, because larger companies used to stay on strict timetables and to fly to main cities that we all know about. So that's, and I would like to add as well that it's not proved by any statistics that people travel to main cities just to take a picture of them. It's actually proved that people travel more because the prices are lower. So they travel to different countries, different than the main ones. This has definitely some bright sides. As we said, saving money on the journey allows us to spend it in the place that we're visiting, contributing to the development of other economies, and that is great. Lower prices are a guarantee to both wealthy and more indigent people who can manage to improve their life conditions by taking vacation that they can afford. We have also shown how low-cost flights, or well, flights in general, are not the primary cause of pollution. In fact, all these long distances that plane allows us to tread would be replaced with thousands of kilometers by car or other transportations as train, as my colleague from the other team was saying. And let's hypothetically say that this is actually such an environmental problem at the moment, which is clearly not, as we explained. It is getting better. As Margherita explained us before, the report by ICAO clearly shows that local companies are currently the less polluting companies, and they're also the ones that are improving more their conditions. Reducing low-cost flights, we're just taking the possibility of traveling away from some people. We're not having any big impact on the reduction of pollution. This is clearly not what we should focus our energy on, especially not on low-cost flights, which is the less polluting kind of flights. We strongly stand by low-cost flights, low prices, and a more equal access to travel. Thank you. I leave the floor.
Thank you very much. The captain of the CON team, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today we have debated about the opportunities and risks of low-cost tourism. The Pro team illustrated how low-cost tourism through low-cost flights represents a convenient opportunity to travel cheaply with little carbon emissions. While these are very valid points, the underlying issue is that such benefits are short-term and cannot be sustained over time. Indeed, we argue that low-cost tourism often results in over-tourism, leading to situations where environmental resources and social relations are disrupted in favor of mere profit. The cases of Halong Bay in Vietnam, or Maya Bay in Thailand, or Boracay Island in the Philippines that our second speaker mentioned are quite straightforward in illustrating this reality. Overcrowded bays, destroyed coral reefs, jobs that make it impossible to earn a decent living, all due to tourist crowds brought there by cheap air companies. We live in the era of sustainable development, which means that environmental, social, and economic resources should be used in a way that allows future generations to benefit from them too. Low-cost tourism, embodied by phenomena of over-tourism that we have seen, goes against this fundamental concept. Environmental and social resources are quickly depleted for profits today, leaving future generations to deal with the degradation and poverty that ensue. As a result, how can the economic benefits of low-cost tourism be claimed to be greater than its environmental costs? It's not all doom and gloom, however. Tourism can be a source of income, and if done right, it can be a sustainable one. As our first speaker illustrated, there are examples of more sustainable forms of tourism, such as slow tourism, or even solidarity-based tourism. And that's where attention should be focused right now, if we want to ensure healthy economies, healthy societies, and a healthy environment. When all the wonders in the world no longer exist because over-tourism suffocated them, will we continue to defend low-cost tourism, or will we rather regret the poor choices we made in a consumerist frenzy? The choice is ours, the choice is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, captains, and thank you to all the participants. You made a very great debate. So now I think it's time to let the jury judge the two teams and decide which is the best performance. So thank you very much. We will be back in a few minutes with the winner. Thank you.
I'm Alessia Silipigni. I'm a student at the Faculty of Political and Social Science. I debate because I think that this could be not only a great way to express your personal opinion, but also a great opportunity to share your ideas with others. Actually, I strongly believe that ideas can be improved if questioned and tested. And for this reason, I debate, most of all, because I would like to consider things from another point of view.
Ciao, sono Francesco Morici, sono iscritto al secondo anno di Scienze Politiche e Relazioni Internazionali e dibatto perché voglio approfondire i temi importanti della nostra società ascoltando le opinioni degli altri e cercando di costruire una discussione concreta e non polemica.
I'm Enrico Fedele. I'm a student at the Faculty of Economics, and I debate because I believe that debating is a very close friend of progress and is the only way that we can find solutions together.
Sono Marta Agostinoni e frequento la facoltà di Economia e Gestione Aziendale. Dibatto perché sono convinta che noi giovani dobbiamo affrontare oggi questi problemi, poiché nel prossimo futuro saremo noi a dover intervenire per gestire questa realtà. Sta a noi infatti informarci e conoscerli ora per poi un domani conviverci in modo resiliente.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to express our appreciation for both themes. You greatly supported your arguments. You really impressed me for your commitments. Thank you very much for sharing. But our duty is to decree a winner, and our preference in this case goes to the pro team as we speak. Congratulations.
So congratulations as we speak. We are sorry, in 1987, you made a very great debate. You did your best. And to all of you, our compliments. So thank you to all those who watched the debates. This was the last debate for today. The second stage of the tournament is now over. So the two finalist teams of Università Cattolica will face their last challenge in our university in January. We will know the two finalist teams on Monday. To get all the info, follow CeSI's official accounts on Instagram and Facebook. So thank you very much to all and good evening. Bye.